Okay. So welcome everybody. Again, I just want to say thank you so much, first of all, for responding to Amy's email and for coming to the webinar. The last time we did an in-person for our clients was before COVID. In fact, we did an in-service and then COVID hit within a couple months. And so then we did, I think, one Zoom perhaps maybe during COVID, but we definitely thought that we needed to have a reevaluation and just touch bases with everybody. I would like, first of all, to introduce my staff because as you all know, aside from being your insurance broker, we have a company now, as I am a patient advocate, and we manage long-term care insurance claims. And that aspect of my practice has become so busy, so very important. I cannot do it by myself. So I want to introduce the ladies who I literally could not live without. And first I want to, Amy, if you could raise your hand, just say hello. Amy Self is the one with the white headphones on. There she is. So she is the person, she's my operations manager. And as you can tell, she's quite a bit younger than I am. So she brings to our company just the technology aspect of growing a business that I hate and know nothing about. And she keeps me on pace. In addition, she does all of our communications with our clients. If you're gonna phone our office, you're gonna speak with Amy, and you're also gonna speak with our case manager, who I'll introduce in just a moment. But Amy is amazing, and I love her generation for many reasons. But the next person I would like to introduce is our case manager, Jahnke Sexer. Janelle has been with us over a year. And I'm happy to say that I met her because she was providing services in terms of care support for a couple of our clients. She had her own home care agency. And because she was doing such an amazing job for my clients, we poached her. And now she's doing an amazing job with us. When I say my right arm in terms of claims, she's it. So what Janelle does in our business, she's a case manager, and a case manager oversees and orders medical records, communicates with our clients. You would not know, but when you file an insurance claim with long-term care insurance, there's gobs of paperwork, medical records that need to be obtained. We obtain those records so that we know what's happening. And Janelle is at the forefront of that. In addition, she communicates with our clients what's going on with their waiting periods. And the other thing that she does, which is so helpful to me, is she will attend nursing assessments. And I'm going to explain that in a little bit because that has something to do with the claims process as well. So I am Linda Jahnke. We have Amy Self, we have Jahnke Sexer, and we also have another lady who works for us who is not here right now. I call her my mini mom because she's 79 years old. She's been with me for 4 years, and she is my surrogate mom because my mom is 79. And so she's amazing. And she does lots of paperwork and whatnot. So anyway, again, I just want to thank you all for joining. And just to recap a little bit before I bring up my PowerPoint presentation, I want to just remind all of you about what our role is and what we do and why we're having this workshop for you to keep you educated on your benefits. In addition to, I want you to reach out to me when and if you get rate increases, which I'm sure you all have. If I surveyed each one of you privately and said, have you gotten a rate increase? Every one of you would say, yes, I have. Indeed, I also have the same policies that I recommended to you folks, and I also am getting rate increases. I'm not going to be discussing rate increases necessarily today, but if you want to talk with me about that, I just welcome you. Please call me because there are things that I can do to help you deal with that. But when I started patient advocacy services. The reason I did it was because our clients started filing claims and running into problems. And although when I was selling long-term care insurance, which I still do, I didn't really think that we would see the types of things that we're seeing in terms of stumbling blocks and possibly speed bumps to people getting their benefits. And instead of us just looking away and saying, well, that's not our problem, I decided to do something about it. And I became a patient advocate. A patient advocate is someone who stands in the shoes or on the side of their client to advocate, to speak for them, to help them deal with situations that are difficult for them. And I can't think of a better role at this time in my life and career, because we've been in this business now for 35 years. So imagine, and many of you folks bought your policies more than 25 years ago, and you may have been in your 50s or 60s or even 70s, and are at a time in your life now where at some point you may be needing to use the policy. And in general, because of that time span, most people don't remember what in the world they have. Not only don't remember what they've purchased, but navigating the claims process is pretty difficult. So I am a patient advocate, and our focus in this company is filing claims. Now, we do that for all kinds of people. We work a lot with CalPERS. We have clients all over the United States. So it's not just you folks that we would be able to help with. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen because I want to do a little recap of your long-term care insurance policies. And let me get to, I think you all have, let me do a wide screen. Okay. Amy and Janelle, does this look, can you see this okay? All right. So here's our information. I know you have my information, but again, our phone number is 858-513-8351. And you are more than welcome to call us, of course, after the webinar is over. And I can talk to you personally on the phone about your questions. Okay, so first things first, you have long-term care insurance. And a lot of times people will say to me, I have this policy, I bought it so many years ago. Do I have to be bedridden to actually use this coverage? And I hear that, frankly, a lot from people. I hear one of two things. I either have to be bedridden or I cannot use it unless I'm near the end of my life. And the answer and my comment to that is absolutely not. In fact, I just want to share one quick story with you about why understanding your policy benefits is so important. I had a client a number of years ago who had a Unum policy, which many of you folks on this webinar have. And she called and said, I got a rate increase. I'm going to drop this policy because I just cannot afford to pay this policy. And I said, oh, don't do that. Let me come to your home and let's talk about how you can mitigate that increase. And she said, well, I've moved. I'm in an assisted living facility right now. And I said, what? You're in an assisted living facility? Actually, you should be using your policy because your policy pays for care and assisted living. And she said, well, I thought I had to be bedridden in order to file a claim. No, not at all. So I went to her home, and she had been living in an assisted living facility for well over a year. And we filed a back claim for her with Unum, and we were able to get her benefits paid until she passed away. She lived on claim for almost 5 years. So it's so important that you understand actually what these policies are meant to do. And perhaps when you purchased it, you didn't think or realize that these policies are designed to help you age in place, meaning to help you stay in your home, or if you can't stay in your home, to stay in another setting safely. And so the whole key is safety. And if you're in a situation where your family or your people that are with you a lot are saying things to you like this, I am really worried about you getting in the shower, I think we should put some grab bars, or I'm so concerned because I feel like I have to stand behind you when you're walking because I feel like you're going to fall over. These are the types of things to think about instead of just letting them pass by you. That, are you staying safe? Are you doing things to make sure that you're not going to have a fall or break a hip or something like that? Now, all of you, most of you, there might be some exceptions, have policies that are considered comprehensive. Some of you might have policies that only pay for services in assisted living or in a skilled nursing facility, but most of you probably have comprehensive policies. And you might say to me, well, I don't know what I have. You can call me and we'll go over it, or you can open up your policy and look on page maybe 2 or 3, your schedule of benefits, and it will tell you on the printout that you have facility coverage, which is nursing home, then residential, and then underneath that it'll say professional home care or home care benefits. And so you want to think of it like this. Your policy is like a piggy bank or an ATM machine. Now, the insurance carrier might not appreciate me describing your policy in that way, but truly it is, because it's a savings account. It's a savings account that has been growing in value. So it's like a piggy bank. You have been putting these premiums in every single year. And each year that piggy bank has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger because most of you have what's called an inflation rider, okay? So this piggy bank works like this. And most people will actually start receiving care in their home first. So statistically, 70% of all claims filed start off at home, and they start off slow. And this is true for most of the claims that we're managing for our clients, in that somebody might need services for 3 or 4 days, 3 hours or 4 hours a day, transportation, just showering, errands, meal prep, that type of thing, starts off in the home. And so the piggy bank starts paying for care in the home, but then sometimes people actually need to move on to a higher level of care. So let me give you an example. This would be true for our single clients who are living by themselves, in particular women, in the event that there is a situation where there is a 24/7 need. So for example, maybe somebody who has been diagnosed with a dementia or Parkinson's, or just multiple chronic conditions where it's really difficult for them just to wait for someone to help them. In other words, they really need somebody there all the time. That person would move from the home care setting into an assisted living facility. And the policy benefits just follow the person right along. They follow the person along the care continuum. Now, the other place that the policy will pay is in a skilled nursing facility. And in the 35 years that I've been in this business, and I've said this so many times with the workshops that I've done, I probably can count on both hands our clients that have actually gone into skilled nursing facilities and stayed there. It's pretty rare. And that's a good thing, because skilled nursing facilities are a very high acuity, more of a medical model, and are places where an individual who may need a feeding tube or be so disabled that they are not even able to transfer themselves, whatnot. Most of our individual people are able to stay in assisted living facilities, and even stay in assisted living facilities with hospice and not move on to skilled nursing facilities. So these policies, what we're seeing in general, are paying at home or are paying in assisted living facilities or memory care facilities. The other thing that you want to do is look at your policy. Now, even though your policy has been growing every single year, in general, these carriers do not send you statements every year and say, hey, did you know that your benefits are now worth X amount of money? They don't do that. So you might open your policy and say, oh, wow, I only have $3,000 in benefits a month. Well, that's probably not true. Your benefits have probably been growing, It's just that you are not notified by the insurance company how much that piggy bank has grown to. The other thing is, and I'll touch on this a little bit, the size of your piggy bank depends on the number of years that you selected. So for example, I'm just going to give you a simple explanation. If your policy is going to pay $3,000 a month for 3 years, then your benefits would be $108,000. So even though when you bought your policy, you bought maybe a 3-year policy, that does not mean that the policy is going to pay for 3 years. It means that it will pay for as long as those benefits are available for. And a lot of times our clients outlive or stay on claim longer than the original duration that they purchased. And every time I say that, people are so confused and they say, I do not understand that because I bought a 4-year policy. So let me give you an example. Your policies have very specific benefits. And just to refresh your memory, in general, there are about 4 things that are the most important thing in your policy benefits. How much per day or per month this thing's going to pay for your care. Why is that important to you to know today how much that is worth? Is because you need to budget. So right now, the average cost of home care with an agency is between $36 to $50 an hour for a home health aide. And so it's important that you understand how much per day you have. So let's say you have a benefit that now is worth $300 a day. You'll be able to budget to see, oh, for that amount, I could have X amount of care per day without going into my own resources. The other thing is, and I talked about this a little bit ago, your policy is either comprehensive or single setting. Again, most of you have comprehensive, that the policy will pay for you also at home in addition to assisted living. The policy dollar or days, I'm going to restate this again in a different way because this is an area where people get really confused. So all of you, when you purchased your policies, you probably bought either a 3, 4, 5, 6, or lifetime benefit. Let's say you bought a 3-year benefit, and this happens frequently. We'll get a phone call, and I'm just going to use an example of a gentleman who has Parkinson's, for example, and the family has been providing services and helping, and the condition is progressing, but they think, I only have 3 years coverage. I don't want to file a claim because I don't want to use my 3 years. I don't want the clock to start ticking. That is not how this works. Forget the clock, forget the years. It's the dollar, it's the piggy bank, it's how much in that ATM do you have. So let's say that 3-year policy actually has a dollar value of $300,000. What that means is you can take a little bit per day or a little bit per month out of your policy, and just a little bit. So you open the spigot and you close the spigot. So for example, if you had 15 days of care a month instead of 30 days of care, technically you're only using 50% of your benefit, and that policy would last about 6 years, meaning it would pay for care for about 6 years. And so what people think is, if I open a claim, that clock is ticking, and I don't want, because I don't know, I might need more care later in my life. And what we tell people is, let's strategize. If you need the services, let's open the claim, let's open the spigot a little bit to start pulling some money out, to get that benefit to go down at a slow pace. But why is that important? It's important because, number one, you are establishing a claim, you're getting it approved. Number two, you're getting your deductible period out of the way, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. Number three, you're establishing a care plan in the event that something happens and you need to quickly get more care, or you need to quickly bring different services in. You already are all set And number 4, which you may or may not remember, your premium generally with most of the policies you have is waived or stopped once you start getting your benefits. Not all policies will do that if you're at home, but most of the carriers that we provided to our folks have a waiver of premium in any setting. So filing a claim is just as much of a strategizing how to use it as it is anything else. So I mentioned just a bit ago the deductible period. All right. The deductible period can be called deductible, elimination period, waiting period. So all of those words are used interchangeably to describe the time frame at which you're not going to get one red cent from your insurance policy until that time limit or that qualification period passes. There's 2 types of qualification for deductibles. The first one is what I say is the easier and the nicer deductible. And most of you have either a 60 or a 90-day deductible. And what that means is for the first 60 days or the first 90 days after you start services, you have to wait those calendar days before your benefits will be payable. That in and of itself is an important thing to understand because once again, you have to budget, right? So you have to know how much are you going to be out of pocket to pay for your own care and how is the insurance company measuring this? One of the things that Janelle does, and which is why her role is so important, I'll give you an example. So we get claims a lot with CalPERS, and CalPERS has a 90-day deductible, and it's very easy to understand. It just means once you start care, 90 days forward, they will pay your benefits. Well, a lot of times people will tell us, I haven't had care, I don't have care. So we'll bring a home care agency in and they'll start. And then Janelle will speak to them and end up finding out that in fact they have had care. It was home health care. It was physical therapy. It was occupational therapy. It was speech therapy. It was registered nursing for wound care. And because they don't pay for that service, because Medicare pays for that service, they don't think that counts. And that does count. And so part of Janelle's job is to sort of dig and be like a researcher or an investigator to try and determine how actually and when did the person really start services. And sometimes we find out that it was last year. Sometimes we find out that it was 6-8 months ago. And so we have to back up. And all of those days are so very important because you can imagine if somebody has a 90-day deductible and they actually have met that waiting period already, that means that their benefits will be paid sooner than later. And so it's important for you to understand in your policy, well, which do I have? How does this work? The other type of elimination period, which is not as easy and is a bit frustrating, is a service day waiting period. And a service day waiting period means that you actually have to have a service in order for that to be counted, and it cannot be a family member. Your family member doesn't count. And so a lot of times people think, I'm going to file a claim, but I'm going to have my niece or my husband or someone help me and get me through these 60 or 90 days. That will not work. The insurance company does not honor that. And so we have to help people budget to get that waiting period. They have to, if they have to have 60 or 100 or 90 days of actual services in their home. Then the other thing is the inflation rider, and I talked about that a little bit. Many of you who have UNUM have been asked if you would like to reduce your inflation rider because these premiums have been going up. So just to kind of share in your suffering, I received a 95% rate increase with my UNUM about 2 years ago. And they asked if I would like to take my inflation rider from a 5% compounded down to a 3% compounded. And I declined that and I accepted the rate increase because I'm 58 years old and I need to have as much growth on my insurance as possible. If you are between 75 to 80, you might not need a 5% compounded inflation rider. And if you get another rate increase, we should talk about that. You can decrease your compounding down to 3, even 1.2%, and you should be fine because the majority of your growth has already happened. And what's nice about Unum is if you elect that option, your premium does not increase, and sometimes it goes down. Other companies like Transamerica or Genworth, Mutual of Omaha, they also are offering alternatives for people to offset that rate increase so that they don't have to pay a higher increase, whereby taking a lower inflation rider. If you're under 75, I don't know that you should take a lower inflation rider because being that you could live, depending, of course, on your health history and what's going on with you, if you're pretty darn healthy, you need to take and keep that growth because, again, as you're seeing and we're all seeing, the cost of care is certainly not going down. Now, this is one of the most important things I can explain to everybody today, and which is why I want to do these workshops as often as our clients can attend them, because the terminology in these policies is so very important. The other thing I want to say is if you want to have a copy of my slides, just email Amy and she'll send it to you. So you need to know what has to be wrong or what conditions are needed in order for you to get money out of your policy. Of course, nobody wants to file a claim. And honestly, most of the people that we talk to when we meet with them in general, they're beyond the time which they should have filed, but they just didn't realize that they actually were eligible. So here's how insurance companies look at that. The first thing is all of your policies have what's called a chronically ill definition. All of your policies are grandfathered or tax qualified. And what that means is two things. Your premium, you should be giving your premium invoices and how much you pay to your accountant, or if you're doing your taxes, you should make sure that you include this in your filing, because the IRS does give some benefit for premium payments. And number two, and most importantly, in the event that you actually get money out of your policy, you do not have to pay income tax on that. And this is so critically important because when we're doing our claims for folks, we're actually seeing the amount of money that these policies are paying out to people. And for some of our clients, they're getting over $100,000 plus a year. And some of our policies, like your people who have Unum, some of our clients are actually getting more benefit from their policies every day than they're actually paying for care. And so it's important that you understand the benefits that you're going to be getting on your policies are not taxable. Now, as a result of that, there are standards by which these policies have to adhere to. In other words, standards, or I should say sort of like guardrails or fences that you have to open up or jump over in order to get your money. The first one is they say you have to be chronically ill for at least 90 days. Well, who determines that? In some cases, depending on the company we file the claim with, your doctor has to sign off on a statement called an APS, attending physician statement, or a medical eligibility statement. And that statement asks the doctor, do you believe, in your professional opinion, your patient needs help with two of these things: bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, continence care, eating, and sometimes mobility? And I'll do a little bit of a deeper dive in that. We generally recommend when we're filing a claim that our clients or their family members are on the phone, on virtual, or in person with the doctor, telling the doctor, this is what we're helping this person with, so that the doctor can check those boxes and say, yes, my patient needs assistance for at least 90 days as a result of this situation, this and this. Okay, so why is it important that you communicate or somebody communicates to your doctor about actually these types of things? How many of you think your doctor would even know if you need assistance in your home? None of you. Not surprised. And it's not because your doctors are not great. It's because this is not the conversation when people go into doctor's offices. Your doctor's appointment is generally for an acute issue, for a checkup, and doesn't even have enough time in the appointment for the doctor to ask their question. And I don't know that they ever ask the question, hey, by the way, how are you getting in and out of the shower? Have you had any falls? How are you getting your socks and shoes on with the swelling in your legs? I see that you're not wearing compression hose. How are you managing that? They don't ask those questions. And so it's incumbent upon you to communicate those things to your doctor so that he can or she can fill this claim form out, and that the insurance company can verify that. So I'm going to do a little bit of a dive into the bathing, dressing, transferring, etc. I'm just going to give an example in general. This is how this goes when I go to a person's house, and I'm going to use somebody that I met with yesterday, because this person is not one of my clients, so they're not on this webinar. I will not use her name, but her family, their family wanted me to come and talk to her because she has a long-term care insurance policy, and they are ready for her to move into assisted living because she lives by herself. So she met me at the door, and in meeting me at the door, I could tell that she was very imbalanced, and she was kind of like furniture surfing, holding onto the walls, holding onto the couch, this kind of thing. Sits down in her chair, has an ottoman, and she's got 3 pillows on the ottoman, and she puts one leg and she's helping one leg up, puts the other leg up, and she has compression hose. And so then we start the conversation, and I asked her, I said, how are you getting in and out of the shower? And she said, oh, fine, I have no problem there. And I said, do you have grab bars? Can I look at your shower? And she said, it's upstairs. And I said, it's upstairs, my goodness. So you walk up the stairs by yourself, because she lives by herself, and you go into the bathroom and you get into the shower. Yes, I do. And I said, have you had any slips or falls down your stairs? Oh, yes, but I hold on to the rail and I haven't had any injuries. So my alarm bells are kind of going off, and I can now see why her family is concerned about her. So I said, marking my little box, and I said, she needs help with showering. Did she tell me that? She did not tell me that. I listened, and I told her, based on the definition in your policy, you actually technically qualify for needing assistance with showering because it's unsafe for you to do so. In these policies, the policy itself does not say that you have to have somebody physically in the shower with you, physically doing anything. The policies say that if you need somebody standing by to make sure that you're safe to get in and out, they can be even outside a closed door. That qualifies. So that was number one. I said, tick that box. Yes. The second thing I said, well, let's talk about how you get your bottom clothes on, because I could tell she had fine range of motion with her arms. And she said, well, I have a hard time getting my pants on, but I can do it if I sit down and hold on to the wall. And I'm sure you've heard the stories, or maybe even yourself, you do it in this way. Pretty unsafe. And then I said, so how are you getting your compression hose on? And she said, I don't wear them often because it's too hard to get them on. And I said, well, you have them on today. And she said, yeah, it took me about an hour to get them on. I'm supposed to use a heavier sock because of my legs, but I just can't get them on. I said, okay, technically, that means that you need somebody to help you with that. You really do need help with dressing. And she said, no, I can do it. And so these are the conversations that I have with people. And I don't want to convince them that they need care, but I want to help them to see things a little bit differently, to understand Look, if you are not taking care of things in a way that you would have maybe 20 years ago because it takes you too long, or it's too painful, or you're just too exhausted to do it, then you need someone to help you. So then we go on to talk about transferring, and transferring just means getting from a sitting to a standing position, from a lying to a standing position, in and out of bed, whatnot. That wasn't a problem whatsoever because I watched her stand up and sit down. And we talked about getting in and out of the bathroom. So the toileting issue is not a problem for most people as long as they're in their home. In particular, because people can get those raised toilet seats, or they can get the little bars or whatever. The problem is going out of the house and getting in and out of public restrooms if a handicap stall is not available or whatnot, just maneuvering walkers into a little stall or something like that is pretty difficult for people. Continence care. So again, have the little conversation, and this is uncomfortable for people, really uncomfortable for people, which I totally understand, but it's something that we do have to talk about. And one of the reasons being is because in talking with individuals, and this gal that I met with yesterday, the issue of urinary tract infections is a problem and continues to come up. And that sometimes is a result of continence care needs just not being attended to or paying attention. And even though it's something we don't want to talk about, it's so very important for me to know that, or for a physician to know that. And honestly, most people that have this issue do not even talk to their doctor about it because it's just uncomfortable. So I'm going to share just a really personal story about my mom real quick about this, and see if you can relate to this. And my mom just had a double knee replacement in January, and she lives in a different state. So I went to visit her, and I told her before she had this all done, you're going to go to rehab, and they're probably going to want to put an adult depends on you. Oh, no, nope. She said, I am not doing that. And I said, well, it's going to be pretty hard for you with both of those knees replaced to get out of, your bed, whatever. And they're probably going to insist on that. So she was adamant, this is not happening. I'm not doing it. So she gets her knees replaced. She goes into the rehab facility, and it was a disaster. And you can imagine, right? Because she was determined to get out of that bed, to get to the bathroom by herself so that she wouldn't have to wear an adult diaper. Well, it didn't go well because she had both her knees replaced. And so after 2 or 3 days of her struggling with this, one of the staff finally came in and they said, are you ready to talk about doing something different? And she said, yep. And she lifted her hands up and she sang that little song. I don't remember. I think it's like for a little child's diaper, like I'm a big girl now. And the nurse started laughing. They put them on her, and I was talking to her about it, and she said, I have been so stressed out. And she said, as soon as I gave in, I feel so much better and I'm not worried. And she said, I literally have not slept for 2 nights because I was so worried about how am I going to do this. And she said, as soon as I put these on, she said, just this comfort was like, okay, I'm just going to do this for a little bit. It's temporary, I hope, but I'm going to go for it. And so that conversation with my mom just helped me, and still helps me, to understand that how we see ourselves, especially in the aging process, really plays into causing more problems and causing more, I even want to say, dangerous situations for people, because there's just such a hesitancy to give over to this new season, this new phase of life. The other thing that we have to talk about, which is problematic too, and also very uncomfortable, is cognitive impairments. So what I just described to you is how to qualify and apply for benefits if you have physical problems or you need help physically, like I said, bathing, dressing, those types of things. So if you can do all those things yourself, but you have a severe cognitive impairment, what do you do? So I'm sure you may know individuals like this that are not safe to stay home by themselves, have no short-term memory, might have really poor judgment. They're not driving anymore, but they have no problem whatsoever getting in and out of the shower, going to the bathroom, putting their clothing on, whatever. Cognitive impairment claims is another road you can go down. So there's two ways that people can file a claim for two reasons. One is that physical thing I was telling you about. The other is the cognitive road. The cognitive road is a little bit harder. It's a high bar. And when I say a high bar, this also is where Janelle comes in. When we have a client who has a cognitive impairment and we know we're going to file a claim that is cognitive related, we have to make sure that we have proof. And here again is the problem. When people go to doctors, they go to their doctors, sometimes they'll do their annual Medicare check and they'll do a mini mental. How many of you have had mini mental tests? Just raise your hand, right? In your doctor's office. It's just 10 questions. It's quick, da, 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 da. And sometimes it does pick up things, but in general, it doesn't measure what frankly is going on in the home. And so when we get a cognitive situation, we need to find out from the neurologist, from the primary care physician, from the cardiologist, from anybody who's seeing this person, where's the proof? What does it look like? How is this cognitive issue playing out in this person's life? Because if we file a claim in that regard, the insurance company is going to want to see that it's severe. And so cognitive claims are not impossible to clear, but we just have to, before we go into filing a cognitive claim, make sure that we have enough proof that we're going to be able to clear that hurdle. Okay, for people who have Genworth, listen up. In your Genworth policy, you have what's called a care coordination benefit. And you probably don't even remember this, but a care coordination benefit says something like this. We will assign you a care advisor. And a lot of times people think, and by the way, John Hancock and Transamerica also have this. Unum does not have this. We will assign you a care advisor, a care coordinator, a nurse to advise you and help you get through this claim. What that means is that this person is looking at you to see if you qualify for benefits. And there's a process that you have to go through in order to get your benefits. And this care advisor or this care coordinator is kind of the hub. We work tandemly with these care advisors because we don't trust that they're putting our clients' best interests ahead of their own. Okay. And so even though you have that benefit in your policy and you don't have to pay for that service, they're fine, good people, they're fine, good nurses. We don't trust that that process is going to put our clients' best interests ahead, which is why we do this. But that care coordinator is the one who's looking at the claim, who's seeing if you qualify, and then who will be writing your plan of care. Well, how does it all work? All right, so you call up and you say, I don't know, I'm thinking that we want to file a claim because I have been assisting my husband or I've been assisting my wife and I'm worried about the showering and, we're not driving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is generally how the claim process works. And this is our role. So if you were to say, I would like you, Linda Jahnke and your staff, to take this claim over for me, that's frankly what we do. And of course, we charge for that, and I'll explain that towards the end. If you do not want us to manage the claim for you, then we would want to talk to somebody in your family or somebody who we can help direct and say, okay, step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you've got to do these things. Step 1, what we do is we facilitate the claim interview. So this is getting on the phone with the insurance company and reporting the claim. In general, you would think that's a fairly easy step. It should be. But the problem is if you were to call the insurance company, let's just say you called ABC Insurance Company, and you don't really know the questions that they're going to ask you. but you think that you're ready to have in-home care. So they're going to start asking you these questions like I explained earlier. Are you able to get in and out of the shower? And of course you think to yourself, well, yeah, I can do that. What you're not verbalizing is, I'm not showering as often as I should because I'm afraid of falling. I have to step over an old tub to get into a shower. I had a fall, or I'm sponge bathing, or I'm just standing by the sink and doing it. People do not communicate that. What they say is, yes, I can do it. Okay. Then the insurance analyst will go on to ask the second question: bathing, dressing, shower, dressing, continence, toileting. And generally, most people, again, think, well, I can do it. It's hard, but I could do it. You won't get to first base with that. They will say to you, you're not eligible yet. Call us in 6 months. So what we do is we do that interview for our clients. We don't let our clients call the insurance company. We vet the claim first. We meet with our clients either Zoom or in person. And then part of what Janelle does is she will get on our clients' My Charts and will download their medical records so that we can see not only visibly what our clients are dealing with, but medically, clinically, we have the proof to back up. Oh yeah, this makes total sense. We use that information. We call the insurance company. We report the claim. Step one. Step two, we also fill out all paperwork. So if you have Unum's application for a claim is, I think, 14 pages long. And there's a couple pages in it that has to go to the doctor, and that has to be filled out, and the doctor needs to know what to do, blah, blah, blah. So we take all those forms and we distribute them to the people that need to complete them. We gather them back together with all of your medical records, and then we file the claim. We do not file claims until we have proof that you're going to get over that hurdle and everything's going to be okie dokie. Because the third thing that's going to happen is you're going to have an on-site assessment. And an on-site assessment is that nurse I was telling you about that's going to come to your home, or they're going to do it virtually. And they're going to ask you the same questions. So we attend those assessments with our clients. I will give you an example of what can happen to go south. Ever since COVID, these insurance companies are doing virtual assessments now. I don't know if you do virtual assessments with your doctors or virtual appointments. They're totally different than seeing people in person. It's like this little picture that I see of you guys, right? And so the nurse will say, can you stand up and walk for me? And they're seeing this little teeny picture on a phone or a computer of a person doing their best, but they're doing it. What they're not seeing, because they're not present, is they're not going into their bathroom. They're not seeing the steps. They're not seeing the walkways, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, our clients are at a disadvantage. So we attend these assessments for our clients and to make sure that as they're answering these questions, we're saying, oh, wait a second, that's actually not true. An example is I was on an assessment yesterday. My client who is not able to see was communicating to the individual nurse that he was doing everything by himself. And I had to turn the phone and show the home care person was sitting right there. I said, no, that's not accurate. And I had her speak and say what she did. And so again, these are little things, but they make a huge difference in the insurance company evaluating whether or not you're going to get your money. The next thing that we do is invoices. And this is where Amy comes in. And I was going to say something, but I'm not going to, because the invoice situation with providers is really difficult. So let me give you an example. In order for an insurance company to pay your benefits, two things have to go to the insurance company: invoice and care logs. Well, what's a care log? A care log is that caregiver writing and documenting what they're doing for you. Well, a lot of times the caregiver will come over, and let's say that that day you decided you didn't want to get into the shower and you didn't want them to do it. You just wanted to just kind of let them leave you be, whatever. And so that caregiver writes on your care log, needs no help. And so if that care log and that invoice goes to the insurance company, guess what? The insurance company is not going to pay, because the insurance company will say, oh, you don't need any help. So what our Amy does, and this is no exaggeration, every week she is sending anywhere between $150,000 to $250,000 in invoicing. What that means is every single individual client who's getting care, she gets them and she sends them to the insurance company with all of their care logs. So she's looking at the care logs, making sure that they match, making sure that they have documentation, and she sends it once a week for all of our clients. And so her job is so frustrating, because a lot of times what happens is the provider forgets to send things, doesn't attach documents, caregiver doesn't document. And so she's got to look at the file, get on the phone with the provider and say, you know what, you have to fix this. We can't send this over. And so we often think about people who don't have folks like us looking over their invoices. I can tell you without a doubt that for our clients who have cognitive impairments and the money is going into their bank account or their benefits are going right to the home care agency, they don't know if they're getting paid properly. How could they? Because they're not seeing anything. So Amy's job is to make sure whatever goes over is proper. Okay, so what if it's not proper? Then what happens is we get statements, and this is where Janelle comes in. And Janelle looks over these statements that come in before she sends it to our clients, and she looks at them. And if there's a zero or if there's a notation, then we put our heads together, all of us, and figure out what went wrong. We reach back out to the provider and it gets fixed. So once a month for all of our clients, and right now we have over 180 families that we're managing, once a month, we literally shut our office down and we look at all of our clients' data, because we have technology that helps us do this, and we see if there's any holes or any blanks, and we fix those. So we can say with pretty much certainty that our clients are getting every single penny that they're entitled to. And we just stay on it until things are fixed. Then, in addition to that, what we do is what's called recertifications. So once you go on claim, and even a person who has a cognitive impairment, and let's say that person is very severe and they're in the last stages of their disease process, the insurance company is still going to come sniffing back around every 4 to 6 months and ask, do you still need the care? It doesn't matter how severe the person is. It doesn't matter anything. They do that. And so we follow our clients for a year at a time. Once we get the claim approved, they usually come back around in 90 days just to say, hey, do you still need this care? And if so, fill this form out. Or, hey, do you still need those services? If so, we need an updated plan of care or something like that. And so our staff, we go back to the providers and we just redo everything again as often as the insurance company is asking for that, because we want the claim to stay open. So I've already talked about problems with claims, so I'm not going to do that. And let's see here. Oh, we're almost done. Okay, so the different types of the different type of individuals, colleagues that we work with are as follows. We work with placement specialists, and placement specialists are people that know, they're kind of like, have you ever heard about the organization A Place for Mom? Well, we work with individuals that find good communities for our clients. And I can't tell you how so important this is. I'll just give you a quick example. I have a client in Arizona who is living in assisted living, and he does have dementia. And he's been in assisted living for a couple years, but the family has notified us that that's not working anymore. And they need to find actually a memory care facility. Well, where do they go? They don't. I mean, do people use Yellow Pages anymore? I don't know. Maybe they can Google something, but who wants to do that, right? We want to be able to connect our clients with a professional who knows the area, who knows the geographical area where the family wants the person to stay, who knows if the community has had any violations, if they have changed owners, if they have the type of thing that our clients need for a memory care setting, for example. And so we would refer that and follow that process until our family had found just the perfect place. We also work with geriatric care managers, and geriatric care managers are nurses, typically, or social workers that oversee families with very, very complicated medical histories generally. For example, families that say, I want my mom and dad to stay in their home. I do not ever want them leaving their home, but they have 16 different types of medications that they have to take every day. That is a recipe for disaster in general. Sometimes if we can bring in a geriatric care manager, that person can come in once a week, set up medications, go to doctor's appointments with our clients, and make sure that everything, if they're staying in their home and they're very acutely ill, or they're an at-risk person in the community, that there's another person that's overlooking that situation. We work with attorneys, of course. Sometimes our clients need attorneys, and of course, home care agencies. So home care agencies, there's over 400 of them here in San Diego that we could actually refer. We rotate through 5 to 6 different agencies here in San Diego, and also those agencies in other states. And we have good relationships with these folks. And the reason why we only work with maybe 5 or 6 different type of agencies is because we can only work with home care providers that have good documentation and are responsive to what we need. So for example, we cannot work with home care providers that don't have good administrative skills and whatnot. Unfortunately, also, sometimes the policies won't allow you just to hire whoever you want. And that happens a lot, where our clients will call us and say, I'm ready to file a claim and I have hired this person. Can we get them approved? And I have to tell them, no, we cannot. You have to go through a home care agency. So if we're connected to your provider, it makes it a lot easier for you to get your benefits. All right, guys, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to look at the questions. And I don't see any unless they're being written down. But I think maybe a way to handle this. Janelle, are there any questions do you see on your end? Or Amy? Okay.
There's no questions in the chat box. So
would it be okay to unmute, and if everybody promised to obey themselves, we can unmute and you can raise your hand and ask a question if you'd like. Can we do that?
yes. So if you, I'll say down in the left-hand corner of your screen, you can click on the unmute button if you have a question. I'll say there's also a little reaction button at the kind of on your little bottom tab there. If you click raise hand, it'll automatically move your screen so that we can see you. So that is another suggestion. So
okay,
it looks like
I'm
Vicky
sorry.
has a question. So.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to answer Vicky's questions first, and then Fran next, and then I phoned 2 people right there. Okay, so Vicky, yes, we actually have clients all over the United States, and we can still provide services wherever you're at. And I hope you like Arizona. I think it's probably getting a little bit nicer now. I'm curious where you live in Arizona. I'm going to be over there myself in November visiting. Oh, okay. So Kingman, interesting. I just filed a claim last year for a client in Kingman. And tell me if you think that this is accurate or not. it's hard to find services there. Would you say that that's true or not? Yes, okay. So because that's a situation, your contract, for some places that are difficult to find care providers or it's lacking or whatnot, some carriers will allow you to hire your own people. And I think, Vicki, you have Unum, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, then you have a little bit more flexibility, and that Unum will allow you to hire whoever you want, as long as they're not a family member. And if you don't have Unum and I'm misremembering, just tell me. Okay, Fran. Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Great. I'm a terrible typist. You provide help, but you charge for it. And would answering the question on a ballpark as to how expensive this help is that something that you can answer out loud and share with us, or do I need to speak individually with you?
No, we charge the same amount for everybody. And so we charge an annual retainer. The first year is $3,900. So $3,900, and that our fee is going up in the next quarter, a couple $100, but that's where we're at right now. So that's for the first 12 months. There's no other fees associated. So it's upfront. And then you have us for a year to manage whatever needs to be done with your claim. If you want to stay on claim another year and we can keep you on claim another year, we reduce the fee after that 30%. So we take a third off for the second year and subsequent, because we don't have to refile the claim. We have to do recertifications though. And Vicki, you have Mutual of Omaha. Okay. So Mutual of Omaha, you purchased it in California. You can hire an independent care provider.
I already asked the question, when should we initiate?
Yeah.
So I asked that.
So I think somebody said, when is the best time to initiate services? So the time for you to initiate services is when we determine that you're eligible to file a claim. So you would not want to hire us just for fun or because you want to stay connected. We will be here. You hire us when you believe that it's time and you want to file a claim, and then we will talk to you and we'll tell you, yes, based on what we know about your situation, your health, etc., you absolutely need to file a claim, and here's a strategy. Then you can hire us.
Okay.
Yes, sounds well worth it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then it looks like Lisa asked a question of how does your company get paid for all your services?
Lisa, it's that, oh, okay. Your question was answered. It's that retainer. So that when we're paid for that, that enables us to do what we do, and enables me to obviously pay for my staff. Now, just to make sure that you all also understand, if you just have a question about your policy and you want to know, should you file a claim? Obviously, I don't charge for that. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about your personal situation. So don't be bashful about sending an email or calling. I will definitely, be happy to do that to answer your questions.
We will be sending an email with the PowerPoint and the link to this webinar, as well as Linda's email. So if you have questions, like send Linda an email or give us a call in the office. We will do our best to get back to you as soon as we can, but all that information is coming to you by the end of this week. So.
Okay, guys, it is 12:04, so we did good. I just want to thank you all again. I'm so glad to see that everybody here present made it through COVID, obviously, okay. And let's just I'm gonna look and see how many more faces I can recognize. Hi, Carol Spong. It's good to see you. I can't hear you.
I did have a quick question. There are times when I get so tired of cooking for myself, and I have no, or at least I don't think I have any impairments. It's just like, and I'm sure there must be I get ads for services, so I guess that's my work to do, is to find some kind of service that will bring me meals or give me meals or buy me meals or whatever.
Yes, there are. And when you decide on one, let me know what it is, because I need that myself. That's an easy problem to solve, right? Because there's a lot of really good delivery services where you can just throw something in a pan, or they're already prepared.
Right.
If anybody's using something like that, write it in the chat, so that we can get that information to Carol. So Bart, how you find out how much your money is, if you wouldn't mind, send an email to Amy, because I can find out for you, and I'll send that information to you. I just need to reach out to Unum. Okay. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Manning. It's good to see you. I remember names and faces. Oh my goodness. Okay.
We finally figured out how to get ourselves on the screen. We're not cluey with all this stuff.
I know.
I want to say thank you, but I'm not sure how to make our little comment go on the chat.
Oh, well,
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for this seminar. It really was such a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah, and for the info too, because we try to take notes, but we can't remember everything.
yeah,
It's really good.
you're so welcome. My pleasure. We'll do this again probably in about 6 months or so. And I hope you all have wonderful holidays coming up. I cannot believe that we're at the end of 2022 almost. A little distressing. But anyway, good health and peace and everything. And let's see, let's make sure. Thank you. Thank you. You're so welcome, everybody. Appreciate your comments. Just please reach out to me if you need individual help, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.